Welcome back, everybody, to Bayou Time. A special treat for me today, having local artist Stacey Fabre with us. Stacey, welcome to the show.
Hi.
I got to know you over the last few months or whatever. I know your husband, so I knew you through him. But I've been a fan of your art through social media for quite some time now, and it really was a pleasure to talk to you the first time we met and talk a little bit about your art. Just incredible. Your art here locally and it's branching out has really taken off.
It really has, and I couldn't be happier about that. Doing something you love and have other people appreciate it, it doesn't get much better than that.
Now, are you originally from here?
No, I grew up on the West Bank in New Orleans, in Marrero. Went to high school there, and then I went to Nichols after that.
Now, how did you get started in art? Do you remember at an early age? Was it a passion? It
was always a passion. Put a coloring book in front of me. I'd work on that for hours. I'd redraw it, put it a different way. It was always there for me.
Now, did you go to any specific art school once you started getting older?
I was lucky when growing up, grade school, we had a little art program. So I don't think we had art every day, but I was able to interact with art. And then in high school, I had art as an elective for 4 years. And that was really where I think I knew exactly what I wanted to do forever. And then Nichols for a degree in art. I wanted to do something that was not starving artists, potentially. So my degree was graphic art.
What were you originally going to do before you got into what you're doing now?
The degree for graphic art. I knew it was something that it would be a definite payday, maybe every 2 weeks, get a paycheck, instead of art. Art can be up and down. There is a season. So going the route of the graphic art was a good choice for me. It probably would be better in a larger city, but now, today, it's much better for graphic art because everyone's using social media and they need their logo design, their business cards, brochures. So that's what I did for probably up until about 8 years ago. I did that for a full-time job.
Now, talk a little bit about, I read in some of the stuff that you do use a palette knife. Explain that.
I use knives. I actually brought some. Do you want to see what they look like?
As long as they stay over there. Sure.
They won't hurt you, I promise. Yes, I use knives to shape or manipulate the paint. And I find them easier. I don't know if you can see them.
Okay.
I find them more fun than a brush. And I use them to kind of carve or push and pull the paint. So I have different shapes and sizes. And specifically, these are called painting knives because of the bend that you see right there.
Okay.
It keeps your knuckles off of the canvas. It's just a little technical term, I guess.
And you find that easier to use, or just you're accustomed to it?
I have grown accustomed to it. I wouldn't say that they're easy to use. It's something that it's self-taught. I just didn't enjoy a brush. I like the texture in the paint, and I find that I can make more texture, and it's more like carving a sculpture with the knives than I can with a brush.
Now, before we get into some more questions, I want to go back when you mentioned Nichols State, and I teased it a little earlier about your story. You got in a horrific accident when you were in.
It was terrifically
terrifically horrific. Yeah, when you were at Nichols State. Talk a little bit about that.
I was 20 years old. Thought I was invincible, pretty much. I had started to develop a problem with passing out, and they didn't know what it was caused from. I was an athlete before that, so I was invincible is how I felt. I started passing out, and they didn't know why. So for the last probably about a half a year, I went in a wheelchair, strapped into a backpack so that I didn't fall out of the wheelchair and hurt myself. And on one night, I decided I didn't want to have the wheelchair. I went with my friends, wanted to be a normal girl. And friends, for one reason or another, walked away, and I found myself alone behind a car. It was in a parking lot, not a parking lot, a driveway at an apartment complex. And I had one of my infamous blackouts. Knew it was going to happen, but I didn't have enough time to call anyone for help, and I passed out on the street. And my friends came out of the house, and they thought that I was down the street, and they backed up the car. They walked about 4 feet from me, I think, and didn't see me. It was dark. They backed up the car. I was starting to come to. It was an October night, cool ground. But I didn't have enough energy to move. I kind of rolled over, and the car was heading my direction. Once I rolled over, I was flat on my stomach, balanced on my chin, and the car moved forward, and instead of hitting me center, it hit me in this one little spot. I don't know if you can see, it's a little lighter. It hit me dead on there. I proceeded to roll, one tire roll over my head, down my neck, down my back, between my legs, and then the next tire on my face, down my neck, but it went a little off center. I got stuck on the shocks, and I was drug for a little distance. Luckily, my friend, who unfortunately was driving, he luckily didn't stop on top of me. He knew enough to continue until he was off of me, and that way I didn't get crushed. So it was a blessing that he kept on. So.
Now, how has that shaped your life and what you do with art?
That's a loaded question. For me, the accident was something that I needed to see, something that I felt perfectly safe in the moment. I was told I would be fine, and I believed it. I just needed to see something. I had to go through it, experience it, and I'd understand after why. The next morning, I woke up in ICU, and I saw my dad, and I knew right away this had to happen to put him at ease, because his brother had passed away in a rollover accident, and he had always worried he was suffering. So for me to go through it and to finally realize there was no pain. There was no pain for me in that accident. There was no worry. I felt the most love I've ever felt. And it was to tell him his brother didn't suffer. His brother was going to a place that was infinitely better and more love-filled. And then from then on, I would tell my story to a few people, and they needed to hear it as well. And it made me feel better. It made me feel like there was a reason for it. And that was a blessing. It was also a reality check for me. I was very focused on career, what I wanted to do. But in that moment, you see your life flash before your eyes, and you see what the potential of your life could be. And I knew I wanted a family. I wanted those roots. I wanted children. I wanted everything that a career couldn't give you. So for me, it was to take notice of every moment and make every moment count, live it to the fullest. That's a good thing for me.
And I would imagine with what you're doing now, your family, mom, dad, and your husband Josh and kids and everything else are just so your biggest fans, to see you mature in this career and what you're doing with it and the pleasure that you derive from it.
They are my biggest fans and support system. I work them like slaves, they say. My husband's always there. Whatever I need, he's there. He helps me. I couldn't do that without him. My kids help, even though sometimes I think my husband pays them on the side for help. But my father, he's always, I sell these little art blocks, and they have prints, my prints on the front of them, and I have to produce the art blocks to make produce the wood to make the art blocks. And my dad cuts all of them out lovingly, sands them, routes the back, sends them our way. My husband stains them. It's a long process. My mom is always there at every show I do. If you come to a show, you'll see her at the back of the booth. She doesn't like anyone to pay her much attention. Oh, I'm just here. I'm going to mess this up. And she always thinks she messes everything up. But I would have it no other way than to have her with me. I love sharing that. I like making them proud.
Tremendous amount of support.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. Stacey Fabre, local artist, is with us and sharing her story. And right after this break, she's going to share some of her terrific paintings with us as well. So we're going to take a look at that and talk more about her journey in art. We'll be back with more Bayou Time.